The delusion is off the hook.
Let that satisfying number sink in for a second. 314,000 viewers. That is what the Unrivaled championship game pulled on Wednesday night across TNT and True TV combined. The biggest game of their entire season, the title game, Mist vs. Phantom. Brianna Stewart going for 32 points. Kelsey Plum dropping 40 in a losing effort. The absolute best this league had to offer, and 314,000 people watched it. You want to know what pulled 976,000 viewers that same week? Big Bang Theory reruns on TBS. Let me say that again so it registers. A sitcom that has been off the air since 2019. A show that stopped producing new episodes more than 6 years ago. Sheldon Cooper, in reruns, on a random weeknight, tripled the audience of Unrivaled's championship game. That is not a comparison I am making to be funny. That is the television landscape telling you something very specific about where this league actually sits in the American sports conversation.
Wow. Right, we're not even 24 hours removed, by the way, from me making a video about how embarrassing the Unrivaled championship viewership was. Down 130,000 from last year. You got destroyed by Big Bang Theory reruns. And you think you're a viable option.
Watch that energy carefully. That is not someone being a hater. That is someone who looked at the actual numbers and said out loud what every media executive at Warner Brothers Discovery is whispering behind closed doors right now. Because the numbers do not lie, and the numbers are ugly. And what makes this story so much bigger than television ratings is who is saying what, while the ratings collapse around them. If you are watching this right now and you appreciate somebody who actually reads the numbers instead of parroting press releases, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. That is all I ask. Now let us get into why this is about to get very uncomfortable for some very powerful people. Here is the full picture, and I need you to understand the trajectory because this is not a blip. This is a trend line going in one direction, and it is not up. Unrivaled's opening slate of games on January 5th averaged 175,000 viewers across TNT and True TV. Their opening night last year, 312,000. That is a 44% drop on day one. And it got worse from there. By day 5, they were down to 139,000. Some games on True TV were pulling 70 and 80,000 viewers. By the mid-season break, ratings were down 31% from the first season across the board. The regular season average last year was 221,000 viewers. This year, they were averaging 103,000 through the first 3 weeks. That is a 44% collapse while Nielsen is literally improving its ability to count viewers. Every other sport is benefiting from Nielsen's new methodology. Unrivaled is going backwards.
I mean, you got games drawing 70 and 80,000 viewers in Unrivaled. Your championship game crashed and burned in the ratings. On TNT, not True TV, not HBO Max. It drew 230,000 viewers. You drew 364,000 last year.
And here's where the context gets devastating. The championship game, the one that drew 314,000 viewers this year, was down 14% from last year's title game that pulled 364,000. Overall playoff viewership dropped 9%, falling to 258,000 from 284,000. Every single metric went in the wrong direction. Every one. But here's what nobody in mainstream media is willing to say out loud. The reason these numbers are cratering has a name. Actually, it has 2 names. And one of them just signed the richest shoe deal in women's basketball history. Stay right there. The elephant in every Unrivaled boardroom meeting is a 5-foot 11-point guard from Des Moines, Iowa, who has never played a single minute of 3-on-3 basketball in this league. Caitlin Clark's absence from Unrivaled is not a footnote in this story. It is the entire story, and the league knows it. Remember last November when Unrivaled's marketing team put out cryptic teasers featuring the number 22? Clark's number. They baited the entire women's basketball world into thinking she was joining the league. The internet lit up. Fans were hyped. And then Caitlin Clark said, "No thanks." That bait and switch did not just disappoint fans. It destroyed credibility at the exact moment the league needed it most, right before Season 2 tipped off. Because here is the uncomfortable math. The WNBA averaged nearly 1 million viewers per game in 2024 when Clark was playing full seasons. Even in 2025, when she only played 13 games due to injuries, the league still polled 900,000. Unrivaled, with every star it could assemble except Clark, cannot crack 250,000 on its best night. The gap between what Caitlin Clark does for television ratings and what everyone else does is not a gap. It is a canyon. And Paige Bueckers, who is supposed to be the heir apparent, who is carrying the heaviest load as the league's biggest active star this season, could not close it. Now here is where this gets really interesting. Because while the ratings are falling off a cliff, the co-founder of Unrivaled is out here making comments that should get her removed from the Players Union Executive Committee. And I am not exaggerating. Listen to this. Napheesa Collier, co-founder of Unrivaled and vice president of the WNBA Players Association Executive Committee, went on The Athletic Show and said something that should make every single person involved in CBA negotiations stop and take notice. She said, and I am quoting her directly, "Everything we are fighting for in the WNBA, salary, benefits, equity in the league. At Unrivaled, we have all these things without needing to ask." She then followed that up with this gem. "We do not have to just accept anything you give us. Because if you do not give us what we are owed, we have other places we can go."
She sends a clear message to the WNBA. Using a league she's got that she's got full self-interest in. And it's weird that nobody else besides YouTube creators that cover the sport will call them out on this. It's embarrassing. The media, you're an embarrassment.
Let that sit for a moment. The vice president of the Players Union, whose job is to negotiate the best possible deal for all 180-plus WNBA players, is publicly promoting a league she co-founded as leverage against the WNBA. A league she has direct financial interest in. A league that can only accommodate about 54 players total. And she is out here telling the entire WNBA, "If you do not give us what we want, we will go somewhere else."
Do they? You play 3-on-3 basketball and 100 players aren't in your league. 100 can't get into your league because there's not enough spots. So how viable is it? Or is it just viable to a third of the players you're talking to and the other 100 can just float in the wind?
That is the question that nobody in mainstream sports media will ask her. Unrivaled has 54 roster spots. The WNBA has roughly 180 players. So when Napheesa Collier says, "We have other places we can go," who exactly is we? Because 2/3 of the players she represents on the union executive committee cannot get into Unrivaled if they wanted to. There literally are not enough spots. So is this leverage for the union or is this marketing for her business? Because from where I am sitting, those two things look very different and the conflict of interest is blinding. And wait until you hear what the WNBA's new CBA offer actually looks like compared to what Unrivaled is paying. Because the numbers are about to make Napheesa Collier's entire argument collapse in on itself. Do not go anywhere. Let us talk about money, because this is where the delusion becomes measurable. Unrivaled's average salary this season was reported at $220,000 for an 8-week tournament. Top players like Paige Bueckers earned $350,000. The maximum you could earn in the entire Unrivaled system this season. If you won every bonus, won the one-on-one tournament, won the championship, was somewhere around $400,000. Now look at what the WNBA is putting on the table. The new CBA proposal jumps the salary cap from $1.5 million to $5.75 million in year one. Maximum salaries go from $249,000 to $1.3 million. The average salary jumps from $120,000 to over $500,000 in the first year alone. By year 6, teams will have an $8.5 million cap and max contracts approaching $2 million.
What's the average salary of the new CBA? $520,000? The first year is like 1.2 or 1.3 million. I'm just spitballing. 4 times what the max salary was. 5 times by the end of the deal, it's way up there. Like 1.8, almost 2 million. With what's being offered, and you dare say, yeah, you're a viable alternative.
So Unrivaled is paying an average of $220,000 for 8 weeks of work. The WNBA is about to pay an average of $540,000 for a full season with benefits, retirement, charter flights, and the platform that comes with being on national television every single night, pulling audiences that are 5 to 10 times what Unrivaled draws. And Napheesa Collier is out here saying Unrivaled exceeds everything the WNBA offers? In what universe? The salary comparison alone makes that statement laughable. But when you add the viewership gap, it goes from laughable to delusional.
They're now offering twice Unrivaled salary for an average contract. So no, they're destroying you on salaries now with a CBA that hasn't even been accepted yet.
The conflict of interest is not even the craziest part. Wait until you hear about the media deal situation and why Warner Bros. Discovery might be about to pull the plug on this entire experiment after next season. Here is the business reality that the glowing press coverage never wants to touch. Unrivaled has a 6-year media rights deal with TNT reportedly worth 9 figures. Sounds great on paper. There is a clause in that deal that should terrify everyone involved with this league. Warner Bros. Discovery can opt out after 3 years. That means after next season, TNT can walk away. And if viewership keeps trending the way it has been trending, why would they stay? TNT is not just a broadcast partner. Warner Bros. Discovery is an equity partner in Unrivaled. They have skin in the game, and right now, that skin is getting burned. The league was ranked 280th overall on television as of early February, pulling a 0.05 rating. That is not a rounding error. That is a league that functionally does not exist in the American television landscape outside of a very small, very dedicated fan base. And here is what makes this even more precarious. Warner Bros. Discovery itself is in the middle of a messy corporate situation with Netflix and Paramount fighting to buy the company. New ownership does not keep underperforming assets around for the warm feelings. New ownership looks at the spreadsheet, sees a league pulling 100,000 viewers, while Big Bang Theory reruns pull 976,000 on the same family of networks, and makes a very simple business decision.
To honestly feel like it is a viable alternative to the WNBA is berserk. It's so out of touch that it's frightening. And not only that, you mean to tell me there's anybody in existence right now that when you hear the co-founder of a competitor's league make these comments and you still believe they should be a vice president on the Players Union Executive Committee?
Now, I said I would talk about what this means for the CBA negotiations and the WNBA season. And this is the part that should worry every single player in that union. Because the timeline is getting very real very fast. Here is what is happening right now behind closed doors. The WNBA and the WNBPA have been exchanging proposals back to back. Friday night, the union sent a counter. Saturday night, the league responded. This should have been happening 6 weeks ago, but here we are with the season scheduled to start May 8th and no deal in place. The union dropped their demand from 50% of gross revenue all the way down to about 27.5% of gross. The league is holding firm somewhere around 15 to 17%. That gap tells you everything about where the real negotiating power sits. And every time Napheesa Collier goes on television and says we have other places to go, she is not strengthening the union's position. She is weakening it. Because the league's response is very simple. Go ahead. Go play 3-on-3 basketball in front of 80,000 viewers. We will be over here with the $2.2 billion media rights deal that starts this year.
If I'm Adam Silver, I'm like, no, you're not going to keep making a fool out of us. If I was these players, I swear I would take a step back because there's only a fraction of these players that play in Unrivaled.
The WNBA just showed that it paid out $8 million in revenue-sharing bonuses from last season alone, split among roughly 144 players. That is between $33,000 and $50,000 per player as a bonus on top of their salary. And that was from a season where Caitlin Clark only played half the year. What does that number become in 2027, when Clark is playing full seasons? When the expansion teams in Toronto and Portland are generating revenue, when the $2.2 billion media deal is fully operational, we could be looking at revenue-sharing pools of $15 to $20 million. That is $100,000 to $150,000 bonus check per player, on top of salaries that already dwarf what Unrivaled can offer. So let me ask you the question that defines this entire story, and I want you to really think about it before you answer, because the answer tells you everything about where women's basketball is headed for the next decade. The revenue numbers actually show Unrivaled growing. They went from $27 million in year 1 to $45 million projected in year 2. Good for them. Genuinely. They sold out Philadelphia with 21,490 fans. They sold out Barclays Center in Brooklyn with over 18,000. Those are impressive accomplishments for a 2-year-old league. Nobody is denying that. But here is what the cheerleaders in the media will not tell you. Revenue is not viability. Investors pouring money in is not profitability. Social media engagement is not television ratings. And television ratings are the metric that determines whether your media partner keeps writing checks or exercises their opt-out clause and walks away. Every sports league in history that has tried to survive on hype while the viewership numbers went the wrong direction has ended up in the same place. Ask the AAF. Ask the FL. Twice. Ask the Billie 3, whose trajectory Unrivaled is now eerily mirroring. Ice Cube's 3-on-3 men's league exploded in year 1 with star power and curiosity, then watched viewership cut in half by season 3 as the novelty wore off. Sound familiar?
And guys, let us not get confused. If you don't have the television ratings, which leads to media rights deals, it doesn't matter if they're a traveling circus drawing 20,000 a night. That doesn't matter. I mean, you've got to have a good media rights deal to make money in sports.
The question that defines this entire conversation is not whether Unrivaled can sell out a few arenas or raise money at a flashy valuation. The question is whether a 3-on-3 basketball league that lost 14% of its championship audience in year 2, that averages less than a third of what Big Bang Theory reruns pull on a random Tuesday, that cannot convince the single biggest draw in women's basketball to play in it, and whose co-founder has a disqualifying conflict of interest as a union negotiator, whether that league is actually what Napheesa Collier says it is, a viable alternative to the WNBA. And the answer, based on every single data point we have looked at today, is no. It is not even close. Unrivaled is a cool off-season product that gives 54 players a place to hoop and earn decent money during the winter. Good. Fine. Celebrate that. But stop pretending it is leverage in a CBA negotiation. Stop pretending it is a threat to the WNBA. And for the love of everything, stop letting the co-founder of this league sit on the Players Union Executive Committee while she uses that position to promote her own business. The WNBA is about to hand these players a deal that makes Unrivaled's salary structure look like a summer league. Maximum contracts of $1.3 million. Average salaries above $500,000. Revenue sharing that could generate 6-figure bonus checks within 3 years. Charter flights. Expanded rosters. 2 new expansion franchises. A $2.2 billion media deal. And Napheesa Collier is out here saying if you do not give us what we want, we will go play in front of 80,000 viewers on True TV. This CBA is going to get done. The money is too good, and the momentum is too strong for it not to. But the fractures that Unrivaled has created within this union, the tension between the players who own the league and the players who cannot even get into it, the conflict between promoting your own business and negotiating on behalf of your peers, those fractures do not heal just because a contract gets signed. So when that CBA gets finalized and the 2026 season tips off, watch what happens to Unrivaled's narrative. Watch how the tone shifts when WNBA players are earning 5 and 6 times what Unrivaled pays. Watch how many players suddenly decide that 3-on-3 basketball in front of 1,000 fans in Miami is not as appealing when they are making $1.3 million playing 5-on-5 in sold-out arenas on national television. The league did not just get outrated by Big Bang Theory reruns, it got outmaneuvered by the WNBA's CBA offer. It got exposed by its own co-founder's conflict of interest, and it got abandoned by the one player who could have actually saved the ratings. Unrivaled is not dying. But the dream of it being anything more than a niche off-season product that died Wednesday night at about 9:45 p.m. Eastern when the championship game peaked at 335,000 viewers and a sitcom that ended 6 years ago laughed all the way to 1 million. Drop your take in the comments, because I want to know. Do you think Unrivaled survives to year 4 without Caitlin Clark? Or does TNT exercise that opt-out clause and this whole thing folds the minute the checks stop clearing? Let me know. I will see you in the next one.